Did you know that the odds of an average golfer hitting a hole-in-one are about 1 in 12,500? Even for the pros, the odds are about 1 in 2,500. My experience with the golf ball had even longer odds. In fact, the odds of me encountering the golf ball I experienced were about 1 in 2.5 million. Here's the story. In 2012, I started having a lot of issues with my sinuses and breathing through my nose. After months of over-the-counter and then prescription medications, I was referred to an ENT specialist and diagnosed with nasal polyps. They would have to be removed in a no-big-deal outpatient surgery on a Friday morning. When the surgery was done, the doc said everything had gone great, but there was one growth that was much larger than everything else, about the size of a golf ball. This was, of course, unusual, but not to worry, he said. Go home and rest. At my post-op visit, my husband and I were informed that my golf ball had been sent to Barrow Neurological Institute for further review. In fact, no fewer than 8 neurologists examined this growth. Their conclusion was unanimous, and it rocked me to my core. The golf ball was, in fact, a tumor. I had cancer, an extremely rare form of cancer called Esthesioneuroblastoma. I know many of you are well aware of the fear such a diagnosis whips up. It was particularly difficult for my family because my children were just 18 months and 6 years old at the time. Esthesioneuroblastoma is found in about 1 in 2.5 million people. And because of that, not much is known about it. There were no reasons why it found me, no causes for the effect, no research studies, no telethons to raise money to fight it. So there I was, at 41 years old, zipping between doctors and scans and tests that are all part of the cancer experience. I put my work as an event planner on hold and focused on my children and me, thanks to a very supportive husband. Then there was the brain surgery. Pretty scary stuff, more scans, and finally some much better news. All looked good, and there would be no additional treatment. No chemo, no radiation, just regular MRIs and healing. Compared to others, I got off the hook pretty easily. A year later, with 4 clean MRIs under my belt, I felt like I was ready to take on the world again. My husband and I combined our respective businesses into one, and I dove into new projects, hired our first staff, and got back to networking. I had a new lease on life, and my cancer scare was just now a crazy story about a golf ball. After 3 years of this new lease on life, a friend and professional colleague offered me a huge opportunity. Would my husband and I consider being the new owners of an online magazine that features stories about giving in our community? Really? I was ready for a new challenge. Becoming a publisher felt like a great next step. Full disclosure, in college, I had to change my major from engineering because I was too much of a social butterfly. I was basically a math nerd in sorority letters. I love networking and volunteering. Owning a magazine would allow me to do both. The decision was made. By September 2016, the deal would be done, and I would be the new owner and publisher of Front Doors magazine. But fate had a different plan. My checkup MRI was just a few weeks before the sale would go through. It was oddly stressful. Things weren't running very smoothly that morning. I even had to squeeze that alert button to calm down before they could start the scan. As it turned out, something was odd. I got a call a few days later directly from my neurosurgeon. He had not 1, but 2 concerns to show me. What? No, I'm done, remember? I'm moving on. I've got a cool new opportunity and challenge before me. The kids didn't even know about the first go-around. How can I tell them about this? This timing is horrible. On September 13th, 1 day shy of that first surgery 4 years earlier, A surgical team dug back into my nose to the base of my brain with their little robot arms to find my cancer. Owning a magazine had to be put on hold, with 3 more surgeries, 6 weeks of radiation, and 6 rounds of chemotherapy. This time, I was mad. I wanted my life back. I had plans. I wanted to become a publisher. That was going to be my second act, and cancer was so much harder the second time. I felt beat down, and the why me mantra began to settle in. It was very unusual. I had always been such a glass is half full, I'll figure it out kind of gal. The anger took a long time to work through. I had never felt so frustrated by what life was dealing out. It broke my heart that my disease was causing my family hardships I didn't expect. So here I am, 2.5 years after ringing that bell on my last day of treatment, and I now see that my hardship had meaning. And it was only a taste of what so many in our community experience. You see, Front Doors magazine is the place to find stories about people overcoming adversity, stories about others sharing their generosity to give those less fortunate a chance. I now understand why nonprofits work so hard to do the wonderful things that they do. My heart was understanding before, but that understanding has grown as a result of my 2 cancer diagnoses. My taste of hardship has made it abundantly clear to me why lending a helping hand with time and skills and money is important. It connects us as human beings, and it keeps society moving forward. There's one more tidbit I'd like to share with you. Creating a second act after a life challenge is an important part of healing, but that doesn't always mean creating something brand new. Sometimes it's looking at our first act, in my case, my dream job, with fresh eyes and renewed vigor. I would have rather had my experience with long odds and a golf ball result in a hole-in-one, but I wasn't given any choice in the matter. But I can choose to use the experience as a catalyst to be the best version of myself each and every day.